Hello, this is Sandy. Welcome back to my art channel. I hope you're doing good and you're having a great week so far. In this video, I'm going to be using a reference photo to have a bit of a play round with a semi-abstract floral study. And I'm going to be using autumnal colours and just, having a nice play session really with a focus on composition and just exploring colour really. This is the reference photo. I took this in a store near me. I was just really inspired by these kind of flowers. I don't think they're real. They're just just a nice little arrangement, but I really liked the colours. I thought they were quite autumnal. So I've plotted a grid on the top and I'm using the rule of thirds, and basically that point at the on the top left-hand corner is where my focal point is going to be. And I'm not going to copy this exactly. I'm just using it for inspiration. So I've got a nice kind of cruciform composition there as well. So the flowers at the top with the vase coming down is kind of giving a cross. So we've got a composition and we have our focal point. So it's just a nice place to start really. So let's get going. I'm using some Arches watercolor paper. I've cut a square of 20 by 20 centimeters. This is hot press paper, 300 GSM. So for my paints, I've grabbed some acrylic paint. I have Olive Green Lights by Amsterdam and Phthalo Green, Windsor and Newton. I also have some cad yellow, and I have some opera rose, some permanent magenta and cadmium red hue. And I'm also going to be using some acrylic white and a bit of black gesso, just as a way to mix up some colours and give a bit of value contrast, really. So I have this palette, and I've put some paints in there just because I tend to waste quite a lot of paint, and I didn't want to waste some. So I've put them in this palette. It comes with a silicone lid, so it keeps them kind of wet for a while. So that's going to be fine. They will get used. With the greens, I've just put them straight on a tearaway palette because I'm going to be using a sponge to blot down some colour first of all for the foliage, and it's hard to get that sponge in the little compartments. So for the green, I've just left them on the tearaway palette. So what I'm going to do now is going to get started nice and loosely. I'm not trying to copy my photo exactly. I want to have fun and just be loose and see what happens really and be experimental. So I'm just going to start with this. This is like a sea sponge. You can get them from Amazon and it creates some nice effects. So I've just cut a little bit of that off, and I'm going to wet that in my water and dip that in the paint and then splodge it all over the paper. I find this is a really nice way of getting started with a painting. If I'm doing florals, I just like the freedom of it, not trying to paint each individual leaf and flower, and just having a bit of a mess to start with. And then, you're free and you're not getting too tight about it. It just gives you that kind of freedom to start and get some paint down on that blank page. Just find it a nice freeing way of doing that really. I'm just mixing the green. I'm just mixing the two greens and splodging them down on the page. Really, I'm trying to think about the composition of the floral piece. It's got a really nice kind of sprawled out effect, and it's got a bit of. I want to leave a bit of space at the top. White. I don't want to have too much green all over it at the top because I like leaving a bit of space. So that's the only thing I'm really thinking about. The rest of it, I'm just trying to get a nice mix of the two colours to give a bit of variation, really. So what I liked about the florals on the reference image were the fact that they were like kind of really round. So what I thought I would do is I've grabbed a fan brush and I'm just twisting it round in a circular motion while the paint's still a little bit wet. I'm going to try and plot in the shapes of where I want my florals to be. And I'm not going with realistic at all. I'm going with kind of more abstract, fun shapes. So I'm going to try and make them quite circular because they appear quite circular on the image. And I just like that they're kind of circular. So I'm just trying to use the fan brush to make the circles within the greenery and just trying to get a bit of a feel for where I want them to go really, and just trying to plot them in while the paint is still wet. So I drew in a basic vase shape with a charcoal pencil. I'm not being fussy about the vase. I'm really just playing around, just kind of experimenting, doing a study. So I'm just trying to kind of plot in something, an initial kind of sketch of it. just to give me a perspective of where the vase is going to be really. And I've just mixed up some colours. I've just gone in with some of the Cad Red and Opera Rose, and I'm just trying to get a nice reddish colour. I'm going to keep mixing and just experimenting with those colours really, and just see if I can mix up a nice variation of red and red and orange really, with a bit of a purple in there with the red as well, because I'm thinking I want them to kind of say autumnal palette. I don't want it to be too summery or excuse me, too bright. As long as it says autumnal palette, then I'll be happy really. So I'm just having a nice kind of experimenting with the colours really, just seeing what colours I can mix and what colours I like and what colours make me kind of feel happy really, and just experimenting with a few smaller circles. Yeah, just having a play around really and just seeing where we end up. So I've just continued playing. I've just mixed up a load of different oranges, pinks, and a bit of the magenta, and I've just kept applying paint and using the fan brush to twirl it around and make circular shapes. I'm also going in with my finger and just trying to kind of blend the colours in and also create different tones within each kind of flower, just using my finger and adding paint and just adding in a bit of saturated color, so kind of pure color straight from the tube in with that as well, to give a mix of more muted blended colors and also with a pop of the more intense color as well. And I'm just really experimenting and just having fun playing around. I'm really enjoying just kind of using my hands to smush the paint around, so I'm just going with it. I'm just doing more of what feels good and just seeing what happens really, and seeing where we end up. So here's where I'm at. I was also using my fingernail just to scratch in some squiggly shapes just to give a bit of texture and also to give the effect of some of the petals. Um, I was just kind of making it a bit muddy, so I decided to stop here. And what I'm doing now is I've mixed a bit of all of the colours on the palette with some white, and I'm really going to brighten that up and make a neutral kind of bright, light pink, neutrally pink kind of colour. And I'm just going to now plot in the background. I just want to see where we're at really and try and build that composition. And just, I'm not 100% sure what colour for my background. I'm really going intuitively here and thinking what would look nice against the kind of warm reds and oranges. And I'm just thinking keep it all within the same colour palette that I've been using, kind of red, orange, and yellow, and then just mix them all together and make a light background, really, one that complements the flowers. In our reference photo, we had quite a lot of light. There was a light floral as well, but I did kind of think in my mind I was going to have a light pink background, so I didn't want too much of that within the floral kind of bouquet because it would look too similar to the background. So that's why I've kind of tried to keep it orange and red and less of the light pink. So that's why I went for that. So really just kind of, again, being experimental and seeing how I feel really. I mean, it's just kind of like, I'm going to probably do a couple of these. This is just like the first study really, because I really like the image. Yeah, it's just trying things out. I mean, the first one doesn't have to be the be all and end all. This is really just an experiment really, just to see what I could create from the image. And I'm really kind of enjoying playing around with it really, and just seeing what I like and what looks good to me, and experimenting with the composition, just having a really nice time putting the paint down really, and then just kind of getting really experimental and making marks on the flowers and just seeing what effects I could create. And I'm also just trying to leave bits of the green kind of stuck up. You know, sometimes you get those like the stems sticking out, so I just wanted to leave a bit of that green visible to give that effect. And just try, yeah, now just really trying to create that composition of the bouquet really. And in our image it kind of sprawls across the whole of the image, and I know that there's other vases that were within that, but I really liked the composition of it going across the whole page, so that's how I've kind of kept it really. So I have the first layer of the background done, and now I was really inspired by the tape, the colour of the masking tape. I was like, oh, that goes really nicely with the colours in the florals. So I thought, oh, why don't you put the vase or the table where the vase is sitting and try a yellow colour. So that's what I'm doing now, and I really liked it. So I think I'm gonna stick with that. So I did a second coat over the table area in a brighter yellow just to kind of brighten up a little bit. And now I'm going in with black, mixing it in with all of the colours, and I'm going to paint my vase in black. I think the black will be a nice contrast because it's already quite bright, and that will just tone down everything else a little bit. And yeah, act as a nice contrast for all the colours in the florals and the yellow of the table area. So here's where we're at now. Apologies, my camera keeps overheating and turning off and losing connection. It's connected to my phone and it's not the best. So apologies about that. So the bottom bit where the table, the vase is sitting on, I just taped it off into kind of like stripes to look like a kind of a tablecloth. And I got a tempera paint stick and just added some kind of white stripes to look like a tablecloth. And it just makes that bottom bit, you know, gives it a bit more interest rather than just being one color. So I was really happy with that. I'm also just going in and adding a bit more tonal difference in the background. I want one side to look slightly darker to give the impression of kind of like shadows. So here's where I'm calling it a day. I was really overworking it and I've kind of run out of time now. So I'm just peeling off the tape. Just heated the tape up with like a hair dryer just to heat the glue up so that the tape peels off a bit more easily. I added some more saturated and intense red to that focal point area just to kind of make sure that that stood out. And I also added a bit of Winsor & Newton gold paint to the top of the vase as well, just to add a bit of interest in that area as it was quite plain. So I went around the edge of the vase with this charcoal pencil. I just wanted to bring that forward a little bit because I felt like it was kind of blended in the background too much. And I'm also going in with the charcoal pencil and highlighting or just marking some areas within the flowers to kind of, I wanted to bring out some of the textures within the flowers because I scratched into them with my nail and it's created some nice effects. And I just thought that charcoal might bring out those textures slightly, and it has. So I was quite happy with that. I'm also just trying out this Neocolor 2 crayon in white and just seeing if that will add in some highlights or just seeing what it would do really, just see if it would add anything to it. Um, Not really, it's not really doing much to be honest, and I think I should just stop at this point. But I don't know, for anything like me, when you're in the zone, it's hard to stop really. That's why it's a good idea to do more than one really. Probably do that next time, just have a couple on the go at once, and then you're not kind of just stuck overworking one piece. So that might be an idea for next time. I think this is where I'm going to leave it for today. I might go in with the charcoal pencil and just try and create a bit of a shadow underneath the vase or at the base of the vase. But apart from that, I'm just going to call it a day. So just wanted to say thanks so much for watching and hope to catch you on the next video. Thanks again. Bye.